Greetings, greetings. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna make this a short video. Um, Many of us either watched the news or heard about it. The decision that the system made for the Taylor uh, unfortunate event, and there's many psychological triggers that are being implemented. One of them I call it MEP. Okay, manipulation, influence, and persuasion. Okay, we had a general, right, attorney who decide in a decision that some of us deeply down knew that it wasn't going to be true justice, as some people would say. But the thing that we must understand, no matter what, is that that physical person, Taylor, is not here physically no more. Now, no matter what we think or would like to see happen, it cannot bring that person back. So now we are just dealing with our mind, and we're dealing with what is called maternal imagination. Things that started from when we were small all the way up to now when most of us are adults. And we have these psychological triggers that puts us in a negative way of thinking, toxic relationships, um, lower vibrational emotions, lower vibration energy, and we don't gain social or empathy skills with this. We digress. We go further and further into the pits. Now, I tell people like this: as long as you don't realize these people are golems, study that. It's called GOLEMES. I learned that from the Jewish population. When you don't realize what you are dealing with, you'll be a victim of anything that they do psychologically, because that's known as what is called in psychology the drama triangle. Once you put yourself in the triangle, there's only three ways you go. It's almost like the philosophy that Hindus have of Savat, Rajas, and Tamas. So in this Western implication or insertion of applications into our brain circuitry, we have the villain, the victim, and the hero. Now, the hero will be considered Savat. The villain, which is funny, will be considered Rogers, and the victim Tamas. So when you understand, overstand, and understand the metaphysical insertions that is happening to the 10 parts of the brain, which there's only one part. But I get into the four. What do I mean by the 10 parts of the brain? Well, when you look at the brain, people like to compose it of 2 hemispheres, and in each hemisphere is 4 lobes. So you add up the 4 lobes together, that's 8. And you add up the hemisphere, which are 2, that's 8 plus 2 equals 10. So that's your brain circuitry right there. So they know much about the brain functionality, but they don't understand the mind. Now, this is important for many of y'all to understand, overstand, and understand, and apply this as a term I use from Hindu called samyasa, meaning being detached from the world system. Now, you got to be in the world, but you don't got to be of it, meaning that the psychological warfare operations that what I call POW, psychological operation warfare, that they insert into our brain circuitry, you do not have to obey those circuitries, meaning those synapses. Like, for instance, what happened in Kentucky, the decision that was made. Everything has a higher purpose and a higher reason, right? And it seems totally unjustifiable to some people, right? I can agree, right? I can understand, but I don't have to accept it, okay? Which that doesn't mean I'm in the state of denial. I'm not. I understand it, doesn't mean I accept it. Sometimes we got to look beyond the persuasion, the influence, and the manipulation of a subject. And what do I mean by it being subject? I'm not calling Taylor a subject. I'm not calling her that. May she rest in peace with her soul. What I'm calling the subject is the event current that subjected us to a certain mindset, a certain paradigm, a certain concept, a certain idea, a certain issue, and a certain problem. Now, many of us will not want to deal with this form of human psychology. We don't want to deal with the form of, is somebody else in my head that besides me? And somebody else trying to hurdle me into certain directions besides me? Now, when we talk as colored people, melanin people, minority people, the new word they love to use is marginalized people, bioethnics application people. I mean, techniques. We have to understand ourselves totally of who we are. We're not just African American. We're not just blacks. We're not just colors. We're not just Africans. We're not just whatever you want to go with. Trinidad, Tobago's, Jamaica's, Barbados, New Yorkers, Californians. We're none of those words. Just you have to think about the higher and beyond. Those are words that people made. So by us adapting those words, it comes with a certain vibration, frequency, and energy, does it not? So by realizing that, then you can understand how you can be manipulated, persuaded, and influenced. So what did they do to us? by the decisions they made. They further broke us into pieces. They further got us doing obscene things. So basically what they did, if you study certain forms of metaphysics like the Kabbalah, you've run into a variable that's not talked about so much. You only hear about the tree of life, but you never hear of another tree, the tree of knowledge, of good and bad. And it is that tree that we tend to live in the most, which is called the Caliph. It is the shell, the husk, and the peel of the parallel universe of yourself. It is like the movie Us, but the us is not us. The us is a parallel of us. It's a shadow of us. So it's got us into this dimension, okay, where we can't get out because we're fighting knowledge of good and bad. And that knowledge that we fight is something at the very top of it called contending forces. And at the very bottom of it is called Lilith. It's called the Queen of Night. It's our sexual forces. So we are fighting what is called forces. And forces goes into a certain energy. That energy is called dark energy. That energy by the natives is called the Atakum. So this dark energy is the one that manipulates, influences, and persuades those who go into the Caliph, those who go into the tree of knowledge of good and bad. See, you have wisdom on the other side. You don't have you have wisdom, you have knowledge. But when you want intelligence, you go to good and bad. So y'all try to intellectualize the emotional applications that's being inserted. You need wisdom and understanding to realize you're being persuaded one way or another. So what this general did is he did what had to be done, unfortunately. But here's the deal. This is how you really respect people that you are saying die. First of all, you got to respect yourself. You got to know who thou art. Who are you? Some people will say, I am the creator. Well, I don't know about that. You might be the emulation of the creator, but I don't know about the creator. So let's end this because it's about to end. So the best thing that we can do for all these people who got killed that we so-called promote is to unify. It's to love. It's to bring our community together where we can exert another type of mental thing. Now, you got to remember what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a person that possibly can have their pineal gland calcify. I want you to think about that real deep. Okay? Study psychology. Study the brain. And study quantum physics, metaphysics. And you will come to what are they doing? They're trying to create what is called psychological triggering of negative emotions or lower emotions, should I say. It's not negative in emotions. Lower emotions, negative thinking, and toxic relationships. Okay? Because this is about gaining social and empathy skills, which we don't have. We don't have it. See, we can pinpoint and march and protest and scream out our lungs of what cops are doing to black men, but we don't do the same thing to ourselves in our own community. That has made our community a safe haven for violent and vicious crimes. that we don't want to accept as individuals, that we are the caliber of all of it. We have the end result. We have the decisions to change and make things better for ourselves. Forget about the outcome. That's all I have to say. May all the people who died rest in peace. Thank you. But don't get it twisted. The guy did what he had to do to save the sheeps from the wolves. You might not understand it. Go beyond.